Hi everyone, I'm Jodi and welcome to my channel and welcome to one of a three-part series where we are doing makeup tutorials with fall looks, incorporating some of the fall beauty trends but in a maturely modified way so that our makeup is still our signature look but just a little refreshed for the specific season that we are in. I love looking at trends, but when it comes to my makeup, I don't like to be trendy per se. Fashion, maybe I can play with it a little bit more, but my makeup, I have my style and I know many of you do as well. You just want a different spin on it every once in a while. And that's what today's tutorial is gonna show you. I'm gonna walk you through every step that I took from base to blush to eyes to lips to cheeks, the whole thing. Many of the products that I used are listed down below in the description box. You can also follow me over on the Like to Know It app, which I will link right here so that you can see how to get to that app, and you can follow me at JODIMANNES. Whether it's this look or other looks that you want to know what products I used, you can find it always over on that app. While you're on that app, it's really fun. It's mostly fashion, so if you are looking for new ideas around fall fashion when it comes to fall decor, there's a lot of great influencers on that app, and you can see exactly what they've put together and shop the links if you are interested in their products. So I have loved that app. I'm not on TikTok. To me, that's just a whole nother segment. I just love spending time on the Like to Know It app. I get some really good creative ideas. It inspires my thinking in terms of fashion, and it's a happy rabbit hole to find yourself going down, especially if you're just trying to unwind at the end of the busy day. So if you're ready to get this look on, grab all your makeup or put me on pause, you know the drill, and start this video tomorrow morning when you start to do your makeup. Or if you're doing your makeup today for something special, you might have a Labor Day weekend party coming up. This would be a great look for that or any of your other fall festivities. So if you're ready, let's get started. However, I must prepare you. We're about to go to my authentic no makeup look. So just be ready, but we'll build it back up to this. It is always such a sharp contrast when we go from that intro and we cut to let's put on our makeup look. That's the ultimate makeup to no makeup look. So I apologize for that, but obviously we're gonna be good at this tutorial when we're done because you just saw how it ended and this is what we started to work with. So it's a lot of work to do. First thing that I've done is added my sunscreen and then I added my moisturizer. I use the L'Oreal Collagen Filler Moisturizer. And I put this on a few minutes ago so that it can really absorb into my face. Now I get a question on sunscreen, the order of sunscreen and moisturizer quite often when I mention it. And just to clarify, if you're using a mineral-based sunscreen, then you'll put that on after your moisturizer. If your sunscreen is more chemical-based, then you want to apply it before your moisturizer. Hopefully that helps clarify some of the questions that I get on the order of sunscreen and moisturizer. It just comes down to the type of sunscreen that you're wearing. All right, first thing I'm going to do is go in with some color corrector because I woke up a little purpley today, and that typically happens from one of two reasons. One is lack of sleep, and two is if I had too much sugar the day before. It's probably the latter. So I'm just gonna use a synthetic brush. I'm using the NW15 by MAC. This is a yellowy type concealer. It's perfect for more purplish under my eyes, and you'll see just how quickly this will start to, I'm gonna move my mirror so I can see a little better. You will see just how quickly the purple disappears. It's like a magic eraser. If you have discoloration, it's suggested that you use a color corrector and then a concealer instead of trying to cover that darker color with a thicker, more pigmented concealer, because as we age, that thicker concealer is really the product that's gonna sink into those fine lines. So I like to just paint this in my eye apparently. I like to just use a thin layer of a color corrector first. Then you can see the difference between the two eyes. This I have not blended in yet, so you can see how purple that is versus how color corrected it is with just a very thin layer. So not only does that color correct the eyes, but it adds a little bit of brightness and it just makes them look more alert and awake and almost youthful when you remove that redness and purple color from your eyes. Next, I'm gonna go in with my cream contour. This is Laguna in number 3. And I'm just gonna get a little brush. I like this. This is by BS Small, and I like it because it's almost like a stamping motion. And that makes it easier for me to blend if I can almost stamp it where I want it. and then I just softly blend the edges. And I like to put on my contour before my foundation. I just feel like that under sculpting look on my more mature skin looks more natural. If you don't get it blended perfectly, it's a little more forgiving when you put the foundation veil over it. And I think maybe that's why I like the looks of it. But nonetheless, that is the way I like to apply any type of a contour or any cream blushes that are more bright and pigmented. If I'm afraid I'm gonna get a little too heavy hand, I just like to do it all first and then put my foundation over it. I like to put that contour right on the high point or the point that sticks out the most of the cheekbone. If you're trying to create cheekbones, then just find where yours is and go with the edge of that brush right underneath in a straight line, and that will help you create that shadowing and give the effect of a more defined cheekbone. And then I just like to take what's left on the brush and just go on the sides of my nose just to give a little bit of a contour on my nose, because I'm really not trying to look contoured, structured, harsh lines today. On my face, the only cream products that I'm going to be using is that contour, and then in a few minutes I will use a little bit of concealer. But my blush and highlight will be powder, so I'm going to apply those over the foundation. So that will be our next step. I'm using the YSL MN number 5, and I'm just going to take about one pump like that, and I'm going to start down the center of my nose. When I get to that contour, I don't want to move it around. I'm really using a small brush just to dab and buff at the same time so that you give sort of a polished look. And you can see how nicely that goes over that contour, but you can see that there's some contour there. Light-handed, holding the brush back at the end so that I'm not moving that product, I'm just covering up and buffing. And bringing that foundation all the way into the hairline and onto the ears. I'm loving the fact that chunky earrings are back in. I saw something the other day that said gold is out and silver is in. And I thought, well, that is a fashion trend that is just gonna have to pass me by because silver just does not look as good on my skin. So I'm sticking with gold, but I do like that look of chunky earrings coming back in. You don't have to think as hard about what little small dainty earring you're gonna wear. You just put in one big chunky one and voila, it's done. Now that I've got my foundation everywhere and it is buffed, and I've avoided the eyelid area as well as this under area where I'm gonna apply concealer, and I don't wanna put foundation there and then concealer, because then I've got 2 layers of product, which really can help make this area look very cakey, especially if you are more oily and you need to add a powder on top of those 2 products. That is just an easy way to get that really cakey, dry look, even if you have oily skin. So I try to leave this area pretty blank, and we'll cover that with a little bit of concealer. Next, I'm gonna go in with powder blush. This is Sweet Enough by MAC. I'm gonna just take a very small little brush, and I wanna go to the outside corner of my eye and then drop that down to my cheek and put that right about there. So on the highest part of my cheek, but staying to that outer corner of my eye. And I'll do that a little exaggerated on both sides, just so you guys can see what that looks like. And then I will take off anything that's left and just buff that out, pulling that back and slightly up, but not going all the way to my hairline. These are tips and tricks that I learned on the Online Makeup Academy. I talked about that probably, gosh, 2 years ago. And I have really enjoyed, I go back to those tutorials all the time because they're online. So I can watch the video, I can do the practices. It's made a big difference in the comfort level of knowing where I should be putting products, what type of products work best, how to use brushes, when to best not to use brushes. It's just been so helpful. And I saw the other day that they are coming out with a special effects class and a Halloween makeup class, which I have signed up for because I'm super excited to take some special effects classes. Not that I'll ever move back to LA and be in that scene of Hollywood makeup, but I do want to learn. But you know when you've been to a Halloween party and somebody's Halloween makeup looks amazing, you just know that either they had a professional do it or their normal makeup must also look amazing. So super excited about that. And if I learn some cool tips and tricks, you guys, I will definitely let you know. I just signed up for it, so I've got all the material. I just have not had time to go through it, but It's a 3-day holiday weekend coming up, and that's kind of how I plan on spending one of those days, because it's going to be rainy, is checking out some of those cool tutorials. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, I do have a discount code for Online Makeup Academy. They were kind enough to give me one, so I will link that down below and you guys can check that out. Now I'm gonna go with some concealer, and I'm using the Tarte Creaseless, and this is 20 in Light. And I'm gonna use a little bit there, back in that inner corner of my eye. Now I go a little bit heavier with concealer right through here, because with higher cheekbones, as the collagen goes away, this starts to look a little bit more indented. So I want to add some light to that area just to help camouflage how high my cheekbones are. And then I want to go just a little bit around the nose and then just through here. Just want to brighten up a little bit of the face area. Oh, that probably looks crazy. If you are new to makeup, you're probably going, what in the heck? That looks wild. Trust the process, it will all come together. For this part, I like to use a lightly damp beauty sponge, and I like the small one by Real Techniques because it has the flat edge. It also has this pointy area if you need to get into the corners of your eyes, which I often do. And I just like the way a damp beauty sponge melts the concealer. In the winter, if it's really cold out or if it's more cold in the house, I prefer to put on my concealer with my fingers because I think the heat from my skin really helps melt in that concealer. But if it's warm outside, if the room is warm where I'm putting on my makeup, then a damp beauty sponge is just fine. So you've probably seen me do it both ways. And that's really why. It just depends on how the temperature is in the room that I'm doing my makeup. If it's not quite warm enough and it needs a little help blending, that's when I will reach for my fingers. And whatever's left on my beauty sponge or my finger, depending on what I used, I like to go over the eyelids just to cover up that color corrector. If you use an eyeshadow primer, you can skip this step because then you start to just get too many layers. If you have any discoloration on your eyelids, whether you wear eyeshadow or not, you want to neutralize your eyelid area so that it is just like the rest of your face, very flawless, no redness is coming through, no purple. And you can see the difference already between when we started this tutorial till now. Just my skin looks more seamless, flawless, not as old looking, which is kind of the point for me anyway. Now you notice that I didn't bring that concealer all the way up to my lash line area. I brought it pretty close, but I want to leave a little room there to apply some eyeshadow to any type of an eyeliner, and then I want to go back up and clean it with any type of a concealer. Now you can wait until your eye makeup is on altogether before you do any of your concealer, but because I like that concealer to go out here and on my lids as well, I like to do it first, leaving this area free of concealer, and then I'll go back and touch up that final look. Next, I'm gonna do my brows real quick. A couple things to keep in mind when putting this first look together for fall. It's more focused on a clear complexion, little bit of shadowing, colors, blushes, and then the right mix of eyeshadows, blush, and lip together, that combo. So I like to start by pulling together the eyeshadow that I want to wear and then getting the blush and the lipstick together so that I know that they're all gonna work well together. Otherwise, I find that I just spontaneously start grabbing what's handy and put it on and run out the door and think, why do I have a bright, warm pink lipstick with peaches and mauves? It just sometimes does not work in my favor to do that. Sometimes you walk out the door and go, wow, that was a lucky break today with this crazy clown look I got going on, but it's working for me. You guys have done your brows. You don't need a full tutorial on this one unless you do, and then just leave me a comment down below if you want like a new tutorial on brows. I'm happy to do that. I go old school kindergarten style with my eyebrows. I will outline the shape that I want, and then I'll just go back in with a little tiny pencil head and create little bits of hairs, but not filling it in solid. And then I will set it with a little bit of brow gel. And for fall, brows are back to being big and tall and bushy, and there's only so much we can do with our small, short, lack of growth, ever shedding gray eyebrows. Wow, that was really encouraging, Jodi. Okay, I mean, that whole bleach thing we already talked about in last week's video. We don't have to do that. We're going opposite. We are going to give life to whatever brows we have, and by brushing them with a brow gel up and out helps give some lift to them. Now that the brows are done, I'm gonna grab my Viseart palette, and this is one of those palettes that I keep for years because I really use it only in the fall. It's those perfect warm fall colors that I don't wear a lot of times throughout the rest of the year. However, it's Viseart, so the quality of these eyeshadows are just outstanding. They last a really long time. I just love this palette. This is their neutral matte. I'm gonna go into this color right here, and what I'm looking for is a color that is about the same color as my skin tone, but more warm. So in order to get the most out of this look for you, you wanna find a color that matches your skin tone, but is a little bit more to the warm side. And with the shorter end of that brush, I'm just gonna start with that outer corner and just go and create a little bit of a transition. Now, if you have hooded eyes, this is a very easy step, as well as droopy eyelids. You just wanna create that crease right on top of your eyelid. So wherever you want that crease to be, which it's often easiest to find that eye socket, just go right along there from that outer corner, and I want to bring that all the way in to the inner corner, but not on top of my eyelid. So I want to go with the brush, and then as the brush goes to the inner corner, you want to turn it so that I'm not putting any of that color on the eyelid itself, but a little bit more to the corner of the nose. You can always glam this look up by going a shade darker than your skin, or you can lighten the look by going a shade lighter. The key is to make sure that the colors that you've chosen are more warm. And you just want to blend that out so that you have something that looks very similar to that. Next, I'm going to grab a small pencil brush, and I want to grab a color that is a few shades darker, not my darkest in the palette, but that medium dark color. And so for that, I'm gonna go with this little color right here. And I'm just gonna go to this outer corner and dot it in that socket, right where your lash line hits that bone. And I wanna go up ever so lightly and down. So creating a little bit of a V, but more of a triangle. Now, for those of you that have hooded eyes, and especially droopy eyes, this is a great technique. You want to have extra product on the tip of that brush, and then I'm going to go right on the bottom side of that droop or your hooded eyelid and just sort of color it back. And I want to stop that color right at about that halfway mark. So you've got something like that. Just going to do the other eye real quick so that we are matching. What's great about this technique is you don't have to be perfect. You just want to have enough color there that when you go back to blend, because our eyes are round, we want shadow to be out here, and that's really what we're trying to create. Now I'm going to go in with a big tapered fluffy blending brush. This is the Angie Hot and Flashy A503, and I don't want to move this color around. I want to smoke it out a little bit. So lightly diffuse it, just adding some professional blending to it. Now when it comes to how far down to bring that shadow, just go to the corner of your eye and you'll see right about where you want that to go. If you get it a little further down, it's okay. We'll clean that up with some concealer as our finishing, polishing touches. I kind of think about this part as, you know, when you're decorating a cake and you're putting on all those little trinkets and you're decorating the edges, and then you need to go back and wipe the plate so that that's clean. That's what I think about that final step of concealer right through here and underneath here. It just sort of is that final polishing, clean up everything step that is really important. But where you put these colors is important to get the natural shape of your eye, not the natural shape of what I'm doing with my eye. So again, you want to go no lower than the outer corner and no farther in towards your nose till about right here, and then coming out however far you need to hide or camouflage that hood or that droop if that's the look that you want. Just try not to go all the way to your brow, because then it just looks like you've added way too much eyeshadow. You want to have a little bit of natural skin between your shadow and your eyebrow. Next, I'm going to grab another small taper brush, and I'm going to go in with this lightest color. And for here, you'll want to look for something that's about 2 shades lighter than your skin tone, because this is the color that we're going to put on the center of our eye to really help that pop. And then we will blend over that in a minute. So don't worry if you're like, oh my gosh, I look like Casper the Ghost, or I look like a panda bear. No worries. We will blend this out so that it does not look quite as harsh. But you do want the inner corners to be as bright as you can get them, because we are not going to cover that up and blend it. Then I'm going to grab a big light fluffy brush, go into that transition color that we used first, and then go over everything really lightly. avoiding that most inner corner of the eyelid because I want that to be the brightest so that we've got darker gradually going to the center. All right, hope you guys are doing this right along with me. Now we're gonna grab a small pencil brush and I'm gonna go into the darkest color, which here is that black. And don't worry if you are not a person that likes to wear black, we're gonna add the slightest color just like that. Little tiny dot to give a little bit of extra shadowing to that outer corner. Then I'm gonna grab a small blending brush because we do not wanna move that black everywhere. That's how you get a muddy eye instead of a smoky eye. So that's again, this A504 by Angie Hot and Flashy. I love this for this type of work. Very small detailed brush. And I do not work for BK Beauty, but you would think so because the last few tutorials I have really harped on how much I love this brush. And I think it's because I use it a lot and I want to share it. So you should end up with something that looks similar to that. Next, I'm gonna grab a flat brush and I'm gonna go into that darker brown that I used in that first part of the upper lid and just put that right on the tip of this brush, getting anything excess off. And I wanna go really close right on my eyelashes with that color. And I wanna bring it from where my lashes start in that outer corner to where they stop in the inner corner. And then at that outer corner, I just wanna carry that a little bit to connect. And you'll notice the angle of my brush is in an upward angle so that anything that I finish there is ending the eye look like this. And that's important so that the corner of your eyes don't look like they're drooping down because then that pulls the whole face down. So that outer corner, really, it's just something subtle, but it makes a difference if you just make sure that that outer corner is either flat or up. I go for up because there's enough things working down. I like to go up. One of the things I love about these Viseart shadows, you guys, there's just no fallout, which helps you feel more comfortable going with darker colors. I'm gonna grab that same brush and I'm gonna go into that darker color that we used. And just the width of that brush is the only area that I want that darker color. So right there. And we'll go back in with that Angie Hot and Flashy A504, that very small blending brush. Make sure there's nothing else on it. And I just want to smudge that out, smoke that out a little bit. You can use whatever brush you have. I just like to use something small so I don't end up with eyeshadow in areas I really don't want. Because it's just harder. The older we get, it's harder to go in and take away eyeshadow without taking out the layer of color correction and a little bit of that concealer. And then you got to start all over. And we just don't have time for that. We do not have time for that. I hope you're doing this with me and not too worried if it doesn't look exactly the way mine does. It shouldn't because you're using different colors and your eye shape is a little bit different. But trust the process. Sort of like when you're I must be hungry because everything's a bake the cake analogy today. But imagine if you were baking a cake halfway through putting the ingredients together, it does not resemble a cake. It doesn't resemble like anything you would serve to anybody that you love. However, when it's all done and decorated and beautiful, you're like, oh, hello, I made that, isn't it stunning? So don't worry about what it looks like now. Just keep working it, blending, adding little bits at a time, and you will get there. I promise you will get there. I have already curled my lashes, and I'm just gonna take this right across that lash line. Not trying to do a big wing, small feathery strokes, because I really wanna push this down into the lashes, not quite onto the waterline, but just right where those lashes are. And stop where my lashes stop. You should have something that looks similar to that. Now, I don't know why I even grabbed, this is the Urban Decay 24/7. I used to love that eyeliner and I don't love it now. In fact, I don't even know why it's here. So just threw it in the garbage. I missed, but it's towards the garbage. And here's why I don't like it. The color pigment is just not, either the formula is too soft or the color is not deep enough because you can see how uneven that went on and I didn't put it on uneven. So I will go over it with the Deep Cocoa Matte by House Labs, which is what I should have grabbed to begin with. That is intense color with just a few swipes. So much better. Thank you, Lady Gaga. I just like saying that. Isn't that fun to say, Lady Gaga? Let's go to mascara. And you guys know mascara is my thing. I love mascara. So I have broke down, and I don't know why I have never tried this mascara before. This is the Thrive Cosmetics liquid lash extension. I just got it yesterday in the mail. I have not tried it. I wanted to try it here with you guys because you know I love mascara. I know many of you love mascara. And this is one that in the world of makeup, this is a favorite. It is one of the mascaras that I hear about the most that for some reason I've never tried it. Maybe just because I'm not as familiar with the brand. It's $29. Let's see how well it works. I know some of you really love it. I have to say right off the bat, the container is heavy. It's metal, it's heavy. It's not a deal breaker by any stretch, especially if it's amazing. Let's see what all the hype is about. Okay. I've seen a lot of memes lately on social media influencers and their reaction to cosmetics, typically when they are a sponsored cosmetic and they open it up and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is life-changing. So I'm really trying to not do that right now. And this is not sponsored. This is not a sponsored video. None of these products are sponsored. This is not sponsored. That being said, why am I so late to the Thrive party? You guys, that's pretty darn impressive for like one coat. I would even consider that like 3/4 of a coat because I have not really worked it. But look at the difference between those two lashes. I typically use a third coat to waterproof it to ensure I don't get any transfer. I am curious to see if with this mascara, do I need a third coat? All right, I see what the hype's about, and that's just with one coat. So we're gonna let that dry down for a second. And of course I have to go in with the second coat. All right, now let's do a little bit of cleanup under our eyes. I'm gonna grab some concealer. I'm gonna put that on the back of my hand because I need some precision here. I'm gonna grab a small synthetic brush, pick up a little bit of that concealer right on the edge and a little bit on the side. And then I'm gonna put that edge right underneath my eye just to clean that up. And I wanna use the tip of the brush to put that concealer where I want it, right up through that line. And then with what's left on the brush, I will bring it right underneath to the inner corner of my eye, just to blur that out and give that under eye area a nice cleaned up look. And then as a final touch, I'll just go back in with a damp beauty sponge just to ensure that those lines are straight and they're blurred out and I can pick up or blend out any leftover product. That just gives a nice professional finish to the eyes. I'm gonna go back in with a second coat of mascara on the lashes because one of the trends for fall is a more bold, out there, lively eyelash, which I absolutely love. If you wear lash extensions, you've already got this step down. If you don't, you can always pop on just some of those small individual lashes. I am really impressed with this Thrive Cosmetics mascara. I have to say I'm almost embarrassed that I haven't tried it before. All right, we're gonna go in with Subculture from MAC on the lips. It's a nice fall color. So here's the Subculture by MAC, and here's the blush that we used. I'm just gonna put that right close to it so that you can see how well those colors go together. And when you set that next to our eyeshadow palette, you can see that we've put together a look of colors that just go well together. We're gonna go with Haze by Anastasia of Beverly Hills right over top of that. And then our final step is just a little bit of bronzer to finish off everything. I'm gonna take this angled A507 brush by BK Beauty's Angie Hot and Flashy line. With the bronzer, I just wanna go a little bit through here, over the nose, back up. So I typically will do a little bit of a figure 8, and that's the same with this, really light. And that bronzing powder can help set any of your makeup. Now, if you're more oily underneath your eyes, you'll wanna be sure to set that concealer with a little bit of powder. I don't have that problem. I am a little bit more dry through there, so I prefer to not set that if I don't have to, and today we don't have to. So that is the look, you guys. I really hope you did it with me. For our 3 fall makeup tutorials, here's our finished first look. Again, I hope you did it with me. It's just a matter of finding the right colors, going through and finding the shades up or shades down from your specific skin tone, and then the layering and the placements, and it's really that simple. Once we get to the holidays, you can do the same look just with different colors, applying the shadows the same way we did, and the look will be completely different. Throw on some false lashes and you are holiday party ready to go. And it's a perfect look for being out in pumpkin patches and taking some of those selfies. You guys, you are beautiful. Take selfies, post selfies, love yourself as much as your family loves you, and you will have a great fall whether you wear makeup or not. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you guys in just a couple days with a different, completely different fall makeup tutorial. I will see you real soon. Have a great rest of your day. And always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.